Hello and welcome to Briefly Everything, the brief timeline of history that covers all of time and will make you sound like the smart cracker by the coffee machine. A quick debriefer, last episode we ended on the agricultural revolution. With that in mind, today we'll start 4000 BCE and go through the first couple of civilizations and what their contributions were. First of all, let's define what makes a civilization here, because it will decide whose civilization is worthy of being mentioned. It would need to be able to consistently produce surplus food, which in turn allows for specialized labor, the establishment of cities, a unifying language, and to some extent, law. Another common trait is that civilizations are always close to rivers. In addition to drinking it, rivers offer two main advantages. They provide water for your crops and transport for those same crops. Moving on to our timeline now. Now remember, all of these dates are approximate and the exactness is sometimes disputed. Now let's start in this region, Mesopotamia, around 4000 BCE, where today you can find Iraq, Syria and Turkey mainly. Mesopotamia actually is Greek for middle, mesos, and river, potamos, and literally means a country between two rivers. That would be the Tigris and Euphrates. There have been many civilizations in Mesopotamia, but the first one is probably Sumer in the southern region. Again, some might dispute this for various reasons, but Sumer is generally regarded as the first complex civilization in history. Some of the largest Sumerian cities were Ur and Uruk, of which you'll hear more later. Now, along with the Sumer civilization came a government as well, and they needed money to be able to protect and support the people. So here we have the first notion of taxation. It's also around this time that the Sumerians invented the first form of beer. So I guess the pitch meeting for Sumer beer went something like this. Sumer beer, probably the first beer in the world. Then we wait another 500 years, still in Mesopotamia though, and a wise man or woman cut out a disc from a tree trunk, made a hole and called it a wheel, arguably the best invention in history. Roughly same time, roughly same place, the Sumerians also invented the plow for their crops, which they had their animals pull in a manner which has barely changed to this day. But let's move now to an unexpected corner of the world, the Americas, part of which is currently run by an orange. This is actually a very underestimated part of history, as 15,000 years ago, during the glaciation period when the sea level was so low, people actually walked from Northeast Asia over to Alaska. I guess border control was a bit more lax around that time. And by the way, did you know that by the time Columbus arrived, 1492, let me go all the way there just to show you. Hold on a second. Here we go. Around this time in the Americas, there were about 50 to 100 million people living here. However, in 1650, after only 150 years of colonization, that population had dwindled to only 6 million. So proud, power-hungry Westerners took out 90% of the population, and along with that, much of its history too. Anyways, the year is still that of the invention of the wheel, and why are we talking about the Americas? Well, because 3500 BCE, we have the start of another civilization called Caral, or Norte Chico. This would be around north-central Peru today. At its peak, approximately 3,000 people lived in Caral. It's still disputed today if they were organized enough or had a developed enough language to classify as a civilization, but I don't mind if you don't. We don't have much record of these guys, so it's hard to know if they made any technological strides, but they existed nevertheless, and I think that's a great achievement. Now the year is 3300 BC. Let's go east to the Indus Valley civilization, in current-day Pakistan and India, because this was the year they officially entered the history books. Let me just mention them now, and we'll get back to these guys in the next episode when they have something to show for. So just keep them in mind for now. Thank you very much. Now in 3100 BCE, 200 years later, things start happening in Egypt. A king called Menes managed to unite Lower and Northern Egypt, thus marking the beginning of the Egyptian dynasty, which will last for many years. Lower and Northern in this case here refer to different ends of the Nile River. You might think of Egypt now as a dry land with all its desert, but it used to be one of the most fertile places in the whole world, mainly because the Nile was so predictable. The river here was so important to the Egyptians that they named their seasons after them. Season 1, flooding of the river. Season 2, growth. Season 3, harvest. Unlike most river valley civilizations, Egyptian communities existed only around the Nile, and it's worth to notice that they dug gold here that they also decided was the divine metal, making it what it is today. And on that golden note, I bid you goodbye for today. We've had our first civilizations and a few inventions like taxes, wheels, and yes, beer as well, and just generally had a very jolly good time. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.